And recording. So Brittany's going to be coming a little bit late, and welcome to you too, and welcome to those of you that did write to me and say that you wouldn't be here. We have a new person actually joining us this week, and she just wrote to me to apologize. It's her birthday today. Her name is Judy. Welcome, Judy. Her sister showed up to surprise her and take her out to dinner for her birthday, and she apologized profusely. She said, and she also said that she meant to introduce herself on our Facebook group. You might have seen the welcome that I sent out, and she said, but she put it off, and that's one of the things she wants to work on in the group is her procrastination. And Judy will introduce herself on Facebook and a little more formally next week, but she is a retired news reporter, feature writer, and PR person who is now working on writing her novel and writing a screenplay. Her writing is her modality, and she wants to get more into that, and was hoping to be doing that with us today, because today is going to be all about creativity. So, Judy, you can watch this, and then we'll welcome you in next time. And for the rest of you that are tuning in and going to watch it, this is fine. It's absolutely fine. And just hopefully check in on Facebook. People aren't as active on Facebook this time, but that's okay. So checking in with you two, Shelby and Barbara. Anything come up from last week? Did you watch any TED Talks? Kristen Neff, Rick Hansen, read any of the blogs or anything on joy, well-being? Absolutely anything else that came up during the week for you?
Well, I listened to one of the things that you had online, about self-compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And that really struck me and stuck with me. And, I blogged about it a little bit, and, but that's just not something I really think about, is to kind of treat myself the way I treat others. I'm getting better, but
Yep.
It's too hard, you feel selfish and all that kind of stuff.
Yep, exactly.
And, I used to listen to songs from, like powerful women, women that don't have these issues. And one that I really like was one from Beyonce. It was me, myself, and I. That's all you got in the end. That's what I found out. But my favorite line is, from now on, I'm gonna be my own best friend. So I kind of stole that and blogged that.
Awesome. Barbara, do you have a public blog?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I want to. I mean, in my journal. I journaled it. Okay. Well, if you do, I was just gonna say, if you do make a public blog, definitely link us all in. Okay. Yeah.
Definitely.
I haven't got that far yet.
Okay. No worries. If you do decide to do it, the one that I use is WordSpace, and it's free, and it's pretty WordSpace, and it's pretty easy to set up. Although, with that said, for the sake of transparency, my son set it up for me. It is relatively easy, and then I sort of said, "You do it." But anyway, I'll send you the link. I'll put it on the Facebook post, and it really is relatively easy. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
How about you, Shelby?
I had downloaded the audiobook "The Big Magic" some time ago by Elizabeth Gilbert. And I hadn't read it, and I've been kind of antsy this week and moving all around.
Yeah.
So I'll put my headphones on and listen to it. And it's about being creative, and it's really more about writing and creativity. But it's very good, and I went through the whole thing.
Yeah. Oh, I love Big Magic. It's my favorite. It's my favorite book of hers. And it's interesting you should say that, because I'm going to be doing a reading from something that I'm on one of her forum things, and she sent out this description of her creative space, and I'm going to read that today because I just find it so evocative, and I'll send you all a copy of it. But yeah, so anyway, sorry to interrupt you. Yes.
Oh, no. That was kind of what I did. kind of for self-help this week.
Great. Yeah, there was a lot.
I've been journaling some, but I really haven't paid a whole lot of attention to anything this week, and I apologize.
Oh, please don't apologize. Again, I'm going to tie back into Kristen Neff's self-compassion, radical self-compassion. We don't need to apologize. This, take what you can.
I think I'm apologizing to myself more than I am to you all.
Great. In that case, apologize away. Because, we just need to be gentle with ourselves and very self-compassionate. Kristen Neff, I'll send in a couple more links of hers, and of Tara Brach. They talk about radical self-compassion. Not only be our best friend, but be our best support person, and be the one that cheers us on and forgives us and takes care of us. And because ultimately, as Beyonce put it, it's down to us. It really is. So, the way that I designed the course and the way I did it last time is I kind of combined creativity with love and compassion. But, I think I'm going to focus a little more just on creativity this time, because this group was a really creative group. Last time I had 3 women who all said, "Oh, I don't have a creative bone in my body," and just were terrified of even owning any creativity, so much so that I focused, I sort of took that and put it a little bit more on self-compassion and love. So I'm going to focus a bit more on creativity, because this is a real creative, rich group, and that's awesome. Everybody in here seems to have a focus on doing more with creativity, which makes my heart sing. So one of the things that I love with working with creativity is the whole, the more recent idea in neuroscience, as well as people that are spiritually attuned, is the way that people are talking now about creativity linking us with our intuition, linking us with that, as Jung called the soup, and also that opening up of ourselves to flow and to just to being more open. So the spiritual mystic Osho says you become more divine as you become more creative. Accessing your creativity is actually connecting to the divine. And there's been wonderful science mixed with this idea of the spirituality that is showing that something is going on that they are calling, quote unquote, intuition, because they don't know what else to call it. There are certain sparks of things happening that people like Osho, or people like the Dalai Lama, and others that have a more spiritual bent will talk about being the spiritual connection, and others that may not want to call it spiritual are just saying, well, we can't really identify this, but it's absolutely clicking into something that is causing new ideas. And a wonderful book on that is called Flow. Have either one of you heard of the book Flow? It's by an author who is a Hungarian author. His name is Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. And I had to actually write it out to pronounce it properly, because his last name, I'll send this to you in a link, is just looks like something that you couldn't pronounce, but it's Csikszentmihalyi. And he talks about flow as the optimal experience, and he's a psychologist. What he's studied is how we as creative people get lost in that creative flow, whether it's writing, dancing, painting, playing music. He did a lot with studying musicians, where they get so lost in that flow of creativity that time and space disappear. So, it really is like, oh my gosh, I don't believe, 2 hours have passed, or wow, where did that come from? And one of my absolute favorite experiences that I had when I was writing my book is when I was actually, sitting in my little cubby hole and writing, and it was as though I was taking dictation. I was hearing this dialogue, and I was just writing as I heard it. And it's like I sort of came out of that, and then I realized that a couple of hours had passed, and I went, oh, it's so cool, and I got so excited, and it didn't happen very often. But when it did, it was like, absolutely so cool. And when I've been doing ceramics, I can lose myself in just in the feeling of it and in that tactile, just juicy bit of it, and lose that time and space. And that's one of the things they talk about, is when you can get in that flow, and when you can find that, that's when that beautiful magic happens. The thing about it is that with our rational brains, with our brains that are telling us about what we're supposed to do, blah blah, we often don't allow ourselves this time to be creative, because culture and modern time have convinced us that taking that time for self, first of all, so again, that radical self-compassion, taking time for self and taking time for creativity is not productive. And we've got other things that we've got to do, other things that we should be doing, should with that capital S. And so a lot of times we don't give ourselves the space to be in the flow because we are too busy doing what we should be doing. And, we all know as creatives how easy it is to talk ourselves out of doing it. It's sort of like, okay, I'm just going to set some time aside and go paint. I'm just going to set some time aside and really sit down. This is time for me just to write. And then life comes up and you can't say no to a friend, and you realize you really have to vacuum, and that really, this weeding is far overdue, and blah, blah, blah. And so it becomes one of those things that we put off, even though it feeds our soul in such a true and rich way. And Deepak Chopra talks about creativity actually helping to keep us healthy. That when we allow ourselves that time and space to get into allowing those creative juices to flow, it's similar to meditation. We get out of our own way, and it actually helps us heal. So it's good for us on so many levels, and yet we find reasons not to do it, unfortunately. Abraham Maslow, who we all know as Maslow's triangle, he's famously quoted as saying, the key question isn't what fosters creativity, like what can we do to foster our creativity, but why isn't everybody practicing creativity? That's where human potential is lost. And how was it crippled? So Maslow says, I think, therefore, the question is not why do people create, but instead, why do people not create? Why have we abandoned that sense of amazement in that face of creativity, as if it were a miracle if anyone created anything, when the reality is we can all create? Are you guys familiar with Sir... blank. He wrote How Schools Are Destroying Creativity. Wonderful TED Talk. It's actually, I think, one of the most popular TED Talks. I can't believe his name has escaped me. I absolutely love him. I will send the link. How Schools have Destroyed Creativity, and he's been knighted for his work in creativity. And he talks about with kids how schools squelch that creativity, but it's taken wider by Maslow and by others about how society has squelched creativity, and also with Liz Gilbert and others saying we are all creative. We just need to get out of our way and allow it to flow. We are all absolutely creative beings. That's that spark, that beautiful, wonderful spark that we all have, but that we have to nurture, instead of dissing and saying things like, oh, I don't have a creative bone in my body, when we all absolutely do. Also tied into that, William Blake says that creative power should be kept alive in all people for all their lives. Creativity is life itself. It is the spirit. It is the only important thing about us, William Blake believed. The rest of us is legs, stomach, materialistic cravings, and fears, he said. Also, latest stuff in neuroscience as well as in physical science showing that stifled creativity, this is tied into what I was saying about with Deepak Chopra, stifled creativity not only means that we're falling short of our potential, which we are, but it also leads to unhealthy relationships, a lot more stress, more neuroses, and even psychotic behavior, and certainly adds to addiction. And there's been a lot of studies of creativity in women, and that when women do not allow for a creative outlet, we are more prone to be in domestic abuse situations. We are more likely to lose our sense of self. There's so many pieces, and leads to neuroses again. Women and neuroses, but we are taught because of this the culture that we've all created, and especially from that from it being the machine age and the industrial society, that we have to be industrious, that we have to work, and creativity was seen as not working, and so we were taught to quelch it, to deny it. And so, I don't have a creative bone in my body. And instead of allowing that to come out and be released, which is, as I've been reading, life force and innate in all of us. So any questions or comments from you guys? What's your experience with that?
Well, I definitely agree that, I can I can speak to the the women and the neurosis and all that. I wrote fairly often and things like that. I had books of poems and short stories and things like that I'd written. And then I met and married my ex-husband, and it all went, and he was very abusive. And, I really have not been nearly as creative since, which is why I go for periods to school, because that forces me to at least write about something, because you have to write a lot. But, yeah, it's true.
Yep.
My own experience, it's true.
Yep.
Just crushed the creativity in me.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
How about you, Shelby? Anything that stands out for you?
Oh, I can tell if I don't do something, if I'm not involved in anything creative, I get, I tend towards, being depressed or out of sorts, I guess, is more.
Yep.
It's a natural way to be creative.
Absolutely. And so much research is showing that anxiety and depression are also linked to squashed creativity, and that when people find creative outlets, it absolutely lessens anxiety and depression. And they're finding that a lot with kids as well, with their addiction to screens. And with this addiction to screens, there's less creative outlet because of that, addictive process. So, it just becomes a real just cycle, and it's and they're just seeing it more and more with that. And again, a lot of women too, again with studies with women, when we have kids, then it's like, of course I can't take time for me, I've got my kids to take care of, and I can't sit and write or paint or garden or do anything that's a creative outlet because I've got to do this for the kids. And yet we'll do it so our kids can practice creativity, but not for us. And so again, it does tend to be it's with all people that we need creative outlet, but it seems to be women are the first that let it go, and then it leads to so many other pieces. And creativity is absolutely an outlet. And I want to read this piece that Elizabeth Gilbert wrote, and she sent it out like a letter to these people that were in a forum with her. And she said, "I've been hiding away in my tiny writing room for most of this spring, writing my new novel. I love this room. It's just the right size for me. only a little bit bigger than my old beloved desk. In fact, I built this room around that desk so that it can never be removed, kind of like Odysseus's bed. In the boxes are thousands of index cards filled with research for my book, all about the theater world in New York City in the 1940s. Somewhere within those boxes, there is a story, and my job is to find it and tell it. There on the right is my favorite lamp. It looks like a sail, and so it reminds me to be free. There beneath the lamp is an emblem of my first car, a 1966 Plymouth Fury that I bought for $600 and drove all the way to Wyoming by myself when I was 23. And that reminds me to be brave. Also, there's a plant, and that reminds me to be alive. There's also a robin's egg, which reminds me to be vulnerable. The painting on top is an Indonesian artist by Brahmasto. It came from Bali long, long ago. And then the painting on the bottom is by an American artist named Julia Marchand. I just got that this week. I feel like a lion and the woman have the same expression on their faces. Thoughtful huntresses, both of them. Powerful female energy to remind me. Focus and silence and beauty. The spaces that we make for ourselves in which to be quiet and creative matter. They matter. They don't have to be big rooms. It can be just a little corner like this one. But the space should be clean, and everything in that space should remind you of who you are. There should be nothing in that space that does not bring your senses to life. I'll be staring at that wall with the boxes of notes and at that painting until my work is done. And there is nowhere else I could be right now. I'm spending a lot of time by myself, and it's necessary. But I'm not alone. My work is with me. But I want to say this to you. Whatever your life brings to you, respond to it with creation. If you're celebrating, create. If you're grieving, create. Only create, always create. Constant creative response. For this is the engine of resilience. I just love that. I just love it. She wrote that. She wrote that and sent it out last year when she was working on the book, which is just about to come out, or maybe it just has come out. So yeah, I will send you a copy of that out. So what I would like to do now is some journaling. So get your journals out and your pens. Tying into last week, positive psychologists absolutely believe and confirm and have proven that practicing creativity leads to well-being. It leads to a happier, more fulfilling life. All of them constantly say creativity, it leads to well-being. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to do a couple of things. First of all, journal about a few things that you already do to practice creativity. A few things you already do to practice creativity. And after that, brainstorm 3 new things you want to try. Okay? I'll give you about 5 or 6 minutes. All the ways that you are creative, and then 3 new things that you want to try. I'll put on a bit of music. And I will give you 5 or 6 minutes.
Battery 50%. Connected to Jeff's iPhone.
It looks like you're done, Shelby, and it's just you and me. So you know what I'm going to do is I am going to stop here. And for those of you that are watching, if you're not done yet, because Shelby and I are working together right now, you can pause it. So Barbara, when you come back later, you can just spend some time doing this, okay? And if you're watching at home, you guys pause this and keep working on that and find what else you want to play with, what else you want to do with them. So, what'd you come up with, Shelby?
Well, I'm doing my scratch board art. I'm doing that every day. So I'm already doing that. I've gotten really involved in the local art club.
Oh, good.
So that forces me to think about art all the time. And really spending some time, we've got a lot of galleries up here, and I spend a lot of time visiting them, and then I just go on Pinterest in different places and get some art ideas. 3 things to do. I've got a big mixed media piece that I'm wanting to start.
Okay.
I'm starting to see it in my mind, so that's something. I'm going to do a mural for some friends. I keep putting that off and putting it off, and that's going to be my winter project. The canvas is going to go up on the wall behind me, and I'm just going to start working on it. And then finishing my art space. As you can see, my wall is now pumpkin color.
Yes, it is. It's quite beautiful. I was going to comment on that.
I noticed that too.
Yeah.
A little different than last time. I had wandering through. Hi.
What's the mural for, Shelby?
My brother-in-law and his girlfriend, they live in Colombia.
Okay.
And we went there last year to visit them. And they just, underneath this window, they've got this stick-on mural. And I said, no, I can do better than that. And so there were a couple places we went, and we were overlooking coffee plantations in Colombia. And so my brother-in-law said, this is what I want. This is the picture. So I had the picture in my mind, and I want to do it for them.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Great. So is there anything new that you're going to be playing with, or those are just projects that you're going to be working on?
Those are projects. I really want to get involved in more mixed media, which is paint and papers and whatever you want to do.
Right.
And, and then finishing my space. I love what you just read. That's so cool. And, my space is getting there, but it's not, the pictures aren't on the wall and everything. I really do want to make it my space.
Yep. Absolutely. Great. Yeah. And having that space is it's so important. I mean, most of the work that I do, this is my office, but it's also, our bedroom. So, I have the space in front of me that you guys can't see. I've got a big window, and it's beautiful, and I've got space to work, but it's not a space that I can get real dirty, and it's not my own little hidey hole space. And I really want to create that for me too. So every time I read that, I think, yeah, that's what I want to do. How about you, Barbara?
Well, right now, when I want to write about stuff, I kind of try to visualize what it is, what's going to happen or what I'm going to say, or, what it's going to be about and all that kind of thing. Then I write, like a little summary sometimes, depending on what I'm writing. I should do that all the time, but I don't. And if I get ideas and I can't really do anything about it, I'll write them on napkins and envelopes and whatever else by hand until I can get a chance to do something with it. And if I'm really stuck or something like that, I try to do free writing and things like that, which, I mean, it sounds crazy, but it really does help. So,
Oh, it does, yeah.
And I don't know, there's not really a lot that I can think of that I want to try, but, I thought maybe videotaping interviews with people, or, things like that, to, for certain topics or what have you. I've never really tried any of that kind of stuff. So, I might like to try something like that, to get more in depth about other people's emotions and what they're going through and things like that, to write about. So that's all I could think of right now.
Ah, it sounds great. Might end up making a whole documentary.
That'd be interesting.
That's fantastic. Tying in, I want to, a quote, another quote that I love that I actually put in my book from Alan Alda. Be brave enough to live life creatively. The creative is the place where no one else has ever been. You have to leave the city of your comfort and go into the wilderness of your intuition. You can't get there by bus, only by hard work and risk, and by not knowing what you're doing. But what you'll discover will be wonderful. What you'll discover will be yourself. And that's, such a big piece, is that fear of doing it wrong, of saying, oh, I can't do it, I'm not creative, I don't know how, it's blah, 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 all that stuff. So, again, that's that compassion to be willing to play and to do it, to stay hooked in to that, love of self enough to go and create. Instead of going on into more around the self-compassion, the self-love, I think I'd like to just go from here into the visualization and really stay focused on creativity, because especially with you two, you guys are both very creative, and the other ones that I think are going to be watching this, there's only 2 people out there that I know that have written to me about not feeling very creative, but here's an encouragement for you two to embrace it and play with it and not worry about the outcome. That's the biggest thing, is that so many people say that, creative means painting a perfect picture of something. And that's not what creativity is. Creativity is doing whatever it is that's the outlet of that, with giving up the outcome, not worrying about what it looks like or what the words are like or anything like that. It's getting out the new ideas. An editor will fix the writing. A perfect picture of something you can get with a camera. This is more about the release for self. So with that said, I'd like to do a visualization now. And what we're going to be going in and thinking about is pulling something that you were writing about. So which one of those things, and if for those of you that are doing this at home, if you haven't finished writing, well, hopefully you've finished, you've paused and you've come back to this. I want you to choose 1 or 2 things that you were just journaling about that you feel a little bit excited about, that makes your heart flutter a little bit, and we're going to focus on that in the visualization. Okay, so I will put on, also, the other thing that I realized, you guys, that I say to you guys, okay, I'm going to put on the candle. I put on the candle on my screen, but I realized that you guys weren't ever seeing the candle. And no one told me, because I forgot to press the share button. So I'm saying, okay, here comes the candle. And I actually was watching, because usually I watch like the first few minutes and the very end to make sure everything's recorded, and then I just put it up. And last time when I was going through, I thought, the candle should be there. The candle should be there. And instead it's seeing me with my eyes closed off. Oh, God. Anyway, I'm learning with you guys. I'm learning with you. My heart's in the right place. Anyway, so I will share the screen and put this on. Voila. Can you see it?
I can see it.
All right. So here is the candle that you can watch that will be flickering, or you can lay down or close your eyes, whatever that works for you. So get into a comfortable position And the music will be playing in the background. I'll be watching the time so you can relax. And okay, so get comfortable. Take a deep breath in and out. And in and out. And I will put you on mute so that you don't have to worry about any sounds in the background. And out. And now, starting with your feet, perhaps flexing your feet now, and your shins, feeling any tension leaving your shins and your calves and your ankles and your feet and your toes, feeling them heavy as you relax. Coming up now to your thighs and your hips. So that your legs are heavy now, heavy and relaxed. On your chair or on your bed or on the floor, wherever you're doing this visualization now. Now, coming up from your hips, going up your back and your abdomen, going up each vertebrae, feeling your back relax now as you let go. Coming up now to your shoulders, feeling that warm wax feeling as your shoulders begin to dissolve. Like wax dripping down your upper arm, down to your elbows, your lower arm, your wrists, and your hands coming down as you relax. Perhaps your hands feel warm as they relax and let go. Coming up your neck, feeling your neck relax, feeling your head getting heavier as you let go. Coming up now to the back of your head, feeling your hair follicles tingle as you relax and let go. Coming around to your face now, the small muscles around your eyes and the muscles in your forehead. Feeling your face relax, the large muscles in your jaw now as you let go. And feeling your whole body relax now. Heavy and relaxed as you just let go. And now I want you to see stairs in front of you, and as you go down these stairs, with each step you become more relaxed, going down 10, 9, 8, more and more relaxed as you go down, 7, 6, 5, becoming more relaxed with each step, going down 4, 3, 2, 1. More and more relaxed as you go down, completely relaxed. And now I want you to see a door in front of you. And I want you to open this door now. Go through the door and close it behind you. And you are now out in that wide open meadow, that meadow of infinite potential. Walk through the meadow now, feeling that sun shining on you. And this wide open meadow is a place of inspiration, openness and inspiration. You can come here just to allow yourself to be in that expansiveness, to inspire. Now walk across that meadow now and come to the path, and you recognize the path to take you to your sacred space. Walking along that path, under the trees, through dappled sunlight. And you finally come to your creative space, that sacred space. Go on inside. Now, walk over and take a look around. And go over to your chair. And sit in the chair now. Remember, this is your creative chair, very comfortable. And now in front of you on the screen, you see screen in front of you, and reach for that remote control. Hit the remote control now. So the shimmering screen goes sort of a blue color, and hit the button again, and there you are on the screen. And now I want you to see yourself on that screen in your creative space. You heard how Elizabeth Gilbert described her space. I want you now to see yourself in a space that's perfect for you. Your creative space. Notice what's on the walls. Notice the amount of light and where the light is coming from. Notice if there's any furniture in this creative space. This may be a space that you are actually making now in order to have a space to do your creativity, or it may be a space that you're just thinking about that inspires you. Either one is fine. Just see what your own mind brings, what it's inspired to. Notice if there's anything unusual that you wouldn't have thought of for this creative space. And now in this creative space, I want you to see yourself creating. Whatever modality it is that you're choosing to focus on, see yourself in that flow, in that optimal space of creativity, in that flow, whether it's painting or writing sketching or playing with color. Whatever it is that you are creating with, whatever modality, see yourself now in that creative flow. And now freeze frame, and stand up from your chair. And I want you to walk toward that screen. And now I want you to step into the screen. And now step into your body, step into yourself. So you're no longer watching yourself, but instead you are actually in your body. Look down at your hands and your feet. You're standing in your own body now, in this beautiful creative space that you've created. And now I want you to be creating, and I want you to feel it. How it feels when you are in that optimal creative flow. How does that feel? Take time now and create. Notice how it feels just to be in that space. Even just imagining creating is good for your body. It's good for your soul. Just imagining the creative process. Just visualizing yourself participating in the creative process is good for you. So freeze. Now, step out of your body. Step out of the screen. And go back to the chair. And now take a last look at yourself on the screen while you're sitting in the chair. And remember, you can come back here and do this anytime. Simply imagining yourself in the creative process is good for your soul. It's good for your health, even just imagining it. Come back and do it often. Find inspiration in your own imagination, trusting that intuitive process to bring you inspiration. This process is open to you anytime. And now get up from your chair and take a last look around this sacred space, knowing you can come back anytime. And go back to the door, go through the door, and now you find yourself back on the path, walking through the dappled sunlight, leading you back to that wide open meadow. Take a last look around there, feeling the sunshine and the expansiveness. And walk across the meadow now, back to the door. And when you open the door now, close it behind you and see the stairs in front of you. Climbing up the stairs now, 1, 2, 3, starting to become aware of your body on the chair or the floor or the bed. 4, 5, 6, starting to wiggle your fingers and your toes, becoming more aware. 7, 8, coming back into the room. 9 and 10, back into awareness, back into yourself. And what I'd like you to do now is just quietly go to your journal and write anything that came to you, anything that came up for you that surprised you perhaps, or anything that you saw, any colors, anything that came up at all during that time. So just take the next few minutes just to write and take some notes for yourself. Okay, one more minute to finish up whatever it is you're writing now. Know that you can go back to it. and finish up there. I will unmute you and music off. And okay. All right. All right. Once again, guys, I have to apologize because we're going to be going over the hour, but hopefully you guys are used to that by now. I do apologize to those on the those of you. Well, for those of you at home, it doesn't matter, does it? Because you can turn it off and on whenever you want. But to you too, and Barbara, it is getting later for you, so I do apologize. Anyway, so how was that, and did anything come up for you? Anything surprising, or just if you want to share the experience?
I go back, when I go back, I don't go through the meadow. I go through a house that was across the street from where I grew up. And they have a little house, tiny little house attached, in their yard. And they let me play in it, but it was just a dump. It was totally nothing in it. But I see it totally redone, like an artist studio.
Wow, interesting. Cool.
And I've been back in the house, in the little house, and it is totally remodeled, but I don't see it like it's remodeled now.
Okay, cool. And were you able to get into yourself?
Uh-huh.
Great.
Yeah.
And feel that feeling?
Oh, yeah.
Excellent.
But it was kind of like I wanted to come up and go do it now then.
Right, exactly. Okay, I'm ready. I want to go, yeah.
Past all this stuff. I want to go for it.
Right, great, fantastic. Good. I want you to be inspired and feel that. Awesome. How about you, Barbara?
Well, the door at the bottom of the steps, it was red, now it's white. And whenever we go through the forest or the woods, I go over like a little bridge, and a little small arched bridge over a stream before we get to our creative space. And my space had a kitchen table with 2 chairs. It was rounded, it was wooden. I remember when I was in school, when my kids were little, my kids were always really rather rambunctious and active and all that kind of stuff. And being in school, the house was always kind of a mess and all that kind of thing. So I would go in the kitchen and get at the table, because the table was just in front of the doorway between the living room and the kitchen. And I could see the kids while I was in there, but I always had my chair facing the wall, and all my books and everything were spread out, and that area was the only clean space in the house sometimes. So that's where I go to work and be creative and all that kind of stuff. So I guess I was recreating that in my space. The room wasn't small, it wasn't big, but I had things that make me feel comfortable when I'm trying to think and visualize and get creative and all that kind of stuff. It had it used to be a coffee pot, but now it's a teapot. Had a small fridge with Pepsi. It had a musical system, and it had a comfy reddish brown chair that I could sit in. It's one of those, I don't know what you call the chair. It's kind of a lounger, but it's not. It's it just, it doesn't move, but it's really comfortable. It's really big. It's like a bed. You could sleep in it. But that's where I could go if I got to the place where, I needed to think, think something out that I wanted to write about, or get a few more ideas about something I wanted to write about.
Excellent. Lots of detail. I feel like I was there with you. That's awesome. That's great. And I love what you said, Shelby, that you felt like, okay, enough. I want to go do it. So that's awesome. That's And remember, this is always here for you guys. You know, it's a great place to go for your own inspiration and just sort of get the ideas and think, oh, and get excited about it. So that's really cool. Really cool. I will send this out in an email, so you don't need to take notes. But for this week, I would love you all to go for a walk with creative intention. So, and as many as possible, but at least one this week, where when you're walking, you're looking at things with creative intention for inspiration. So maybe you'll see something and want to write about it, or maybe you'll see a certain color and you'll want to create that color, or you'll see an image or a situation, a setting that you want to create either in drawing or painting or written word. So just while you're walking, find something that you, with creative intention, and then go home and bring it home or write about it in your journal. So you're looking at this walk specifically with your creative hat on. Because a lot of times we're walking, but we don't think of things in that way. So take at least one day today that you're doing, or this week I should say, one space and time that you get to have for you going for a walk. And if you enjoy it and you find something cool, do it again. And then journal about it. And then journal about anything you do that's creative this week. And if you don't do anything, please don't beat yourself up. Be compassionate. But if you do something, journal about it, just so you're thinking about being in that creative flow. Notice if you can hook in and really become intentional about it. Notice how you're feeling when you are in that creative space. What's going on in your body? What are you feeling? You know, really being in that totally somatic place where you're feeling your body. And notice what's going on when you're in creative flow, and really hook into it. Pay attention to that. And I will send you a few more videos. Again, Kristen Neff, Intentional Self-Compassion. Tara Brach, Healing Power of Self-Compassion. And then a beautiful meditation by a woman named Sarah Blondin. And it's called Following Our Intuition. Our inspiration, sorry, Following Our Inspiration. And I'll send you the link for that as well. And she just has this wonderful, rich, honeyed voice that I just find mesmerizing. And I'll send the link for that, and I will send the page, that written description of Liz Gilbert's for her creative space. Okay?
Okay.
Great. Any questions, comments, or anything before we end here?
None from me.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you, both of you, for being here. Brittany, I'm sorry you weren't able to make it. Judy, I'm sorry you weren't able to make it. And all of the rest of you, I hope that you enjoyed this. And please do, if you can't come, we'd love you just to put some things in the Facebook group about how you're practicing creativity this week. I love that. Even just feeling other people's creative flow is exciting for me. So have a wonderful creative week. Mwah, and I'll see you all next week.
Okay.
Bye.